What's good, y'all? I'm Jamal, your host of the Trap or Die podcast. I'm here to talk to you all about some Taylor Heinicke again. We're here to break down some Taylor Heinicke film against the Las Vegas Raiders. And first and foremost, man, the feedback that we got from the previous film breakdown. For those who haven't seen it yet, make sure you check out the Washington Film playlist that I have that has all the film breakdowns of previous weeks and previous months. But most importantly, the recent film breakdown of Taylor Heinicke coming out of the bye week in his first 3 games. So take a look at that. But the feedback that we got, man, was much appreciated. It was plenty, and I noted it, positive and negative. But we definitely appreciate it, man. And I figure we keep this thing going, man, and see where it can take us. So if you haven't checked it out, check it out. But we're gonna go ahead and take a look at Taylor Heinicke against the Las Vegas Raiders and how he performed. Taylor finished today 23 of 30, 196 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Sunday wasn't the best day for Taylor. While he was only sacked 1 time, he was under pressure essentially the entire game. Those pressures resulted in some quicker throws, some overthrows, and ultimately some poor decisions. Though all of Taylor's poor decisions were not a direct result of Raider pressure. As you all will see here, there was a mix of erratic play by Taylor, which includes completed and incomplete throws under pressure. But where we'll begin our breakdown, though, will be the game-winning drive that really should have never been. What's going on, y'all? This is Jamal, and this is just your reminder that you can catch each and every live stream episode of the Trap or Die podcast Tuesday through Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern live on my Twitch channel. The link is in the description. And if you miss any episodes, you can catch the video on demand on my Twitch channel that takes you to each and every episode that you may have missed. With that being said, make sure you like, subscribe to my YouTube channel, where we post clips of the show, clips of interviews, interesting conversations, game analysis, film breakdowns, but also where we live stream our instant game analysis from each and every Washington football game immediately after the game is over. With that being said, I'm out of here. Y'all be safe, and I'll catch you next time. All right, y'all. So this last drive kind of is an epitome for me of who Taylor Heinicke is for this team. No matter what you're performing like in quarters 1 through 3, Taylor Heinicke has this resolve, this mental capacity or mental fortitude, as some people would like to say it. He has this capacity to really put behind all of the bad or all of the good prior to this moment, prior to this drive, whatever that moment is for him. He's able to put everything behind him and perform to the best of his ability in this very moment. And I think that's what kind of the players they kind of circle around. That's what they gravitate to. And it's a good thing for Taylor Heinicke. Again, like I said prior, this wasn't his best game at all. And on this last drive, you'll see how this game should have been over before Washington even got a chance to kick the field goal. So for us, we're starting at a situation where the Las Vegas Raiders just kicks a field goal to go up 15-14. And Washington gets the ball with 2 minutes and 22 seconds left right after a Taylor Heinicke interception in a 4-minute drill that could have essentially put the game away for the Washington football team. But the most important thing for Washington in this drive is how they moved forward in such a quick amount of time. The game-winning drive for Washington lasted all but a minute and a minute and 45 seconds and a net yards of 45 yards. The reason why they won is because of how quickly they got to field goal position. They traveled 30 yards in 4 plays. So right here, you have a 1st and 10 at the Vegas Raiders, at Washington's 25-yard line. Obviously, you just need to get some type of positive yards in this situation just to keep moving forward. And you'll see that Taylor Heinicke and the pass protection was all in sync. But the very first play, when we talk about pressure and coverage, because the Raiders' coverage was essentially pretty good throughout the entire game as well, you'll see pressure immediately forces him to escape. And John Bates, in this situation, thinks that Taylor is scrambling and coming and moving downfield he's trying to create this lane for Taylor to go down and get out of bounds. But luckily, John Bates it may have been luck, like I just mentioned, right? I don't think this was time, but for Bates to have the awareness just to turn around and see where Taylor Heinicke is, He's also able to see where the ball is as well. So just the ability for Taylor to escape and keep the play alive against a pass rush that was on him all game. He's able to create that separation. That's what John Bates did. So it was a little push off, and it could have been mistaken for somebody who thought that Taylor Heinicke was going to scramble. But eventually, like I said, he turns around, looks for the ball. Taylor Heinicke throws it right there, only where he can get it. The next play, and that was a gain, of 9 yards. The third play of this drive, after Antonio Gibson 4-yard run conversion that extends or move the sticks, is a play to Adam Humphries that essentially goes for 10 yards. This is a situation where obviously you have to work the sideline because the clock is ticking. You don't have that many timeouts in your favor. I believe you have one timeout left in this situation. Adam Humphries is able to get out of bounds, but Washington is also able to keep the drive alive in a situation where Heinicke has to be perfect. He drills the pass. Simple concepts. Taylor Heinicke is getting out. Adam Humphrey is essentially working the sideline, and for whatever reason, the Raiders allow him to do it. When the only thing you can't do is give up the sidelines, right? And then lastly, the dagger that essentially wins the game for Washington. Even though that doesn't put them in field goal range, it gets them just a few yards away from field goal range. Taylor Heinicke, again, using Adam Humphries for a huge conversion. This one ends up going for 12 yards for Washington. The key here is just identifying who your clutch man is in this situation. Who is your move the sticks guy? The conversation surrounding Adam Humphries this season has been, oh, he hasn't made an impact. Oh, he only has such amount of catches for such amount of yards. He hasn't really been doing much. We need to put XYZ in his place because they can do a much better job than him. What people don't understand is you don't have to have 10 catches a game to be effective. If you have 4 catches a game and you're having 4 first downs a game on those catches, what are you doing for your team? You're moving the ball. You're extending drives. You are that go-to man in a particular situation where your team needs you. And that's exactly what Adam Humphries has been for this team the entire season. If you think I'm lying, look up whoever's done his highlights, because I'm sure there's people out here who's done his highlights. There's people who's emphasized his play. Actually, take that back. I'm sure there hasn't been many people who emphasize his play because that goes against my point. But you understand what I'm saying. He has moved drives and he has made plays, extended drives for this team in so many ways, in so many different circumstances and situations. And it's one of the best things that you can have for an offense. And as we continue this drive on a first down, remember, Washington in its first 4 plays went for 30 yards, 35 to be exact. And this is the last play that put them in that range for Washington's kicker, Brian Johnson, to kick the game winner. And as you'll see, first down and 10, the pressure again is there, but Heinicke is able to maneuver. He throws a good ball, accurate to the sideline again, where the Raiders should be expecting to play that coverage, and yet they weren't able to do it. I don't know why, but credit to Washington and credit to the players just for executing. Lastly, this play right here is unacceptable from Taylor Heinicke. And as I mentioned to you all, it's an epitome. This drive was an epitome of who Taylor has been for this team. And a guy who's pressing essentially to make a play or to help our kicker out, Washington's kicker out, Brian Johnson, who is in his first game with Washington. And I assume that he's just trying to make a play to get Brian Johnson in the best position to kick a field goal and win the game for Washington. However, again, when you're in situations like this where you can live another down, this is first down. And when you can live another down, you don't have to force this play. You can either throw it away, find your check down, or take the sack, even though taking the sack isn't that good either. But you cannot turn the ball over. That's the bottom line. You have plenty of time. You cannot turn the ball over. You're essentially like 5 to 6 yards away from field goal position. So if you have to take a sack, minimize the loss. But as you'll see here, the Raiders do a good job of disguising their coverage. It essentially ends up being a cover one. However, when you see the single high safety up top, maybe Taylor Heinicke gets confused. But at the snap of the ball, you'll see that these roles switch. This safety drops down to play man coverage, and this safety pops up to play the single high. You have one linebacker playing the hook coverage, and that's kind of what this situation looks like for the Raiders side of the ball. And when you stop right here, everybody's covered. Everybody's covered. This hook guy is essentially staying in. He does have eyes on Taylor, so if he does escape, this is that man who's going to be essentially taking the role of pursuing Taylor Heinicke. But you have a lane right here to elude. And I'm not one to tell Taylor what he should have done in this moment, because when you're in the heat of the moment, you can't necessarily think of every single avenue that you could have escaped, especially when something like this is so small and close windowed. So this guy essentially throws it and ends up being a pick six. It would have been a pick six, that opportunity, if he was able to catch the ball. Essentially, it's over. The game is over. And that's what I mean by drive that should have never been. It should have been ended right there. We'll go back one more time, and you'll have a look right here. Both Antonio and Leno is responsible. Excuse me, Lucas. Both Antonio and Lucas is responsible for taking this guy. He's just protecting anybody who comes free on the edge, and Antonio does a good job at identifying it. And he's not at fault. Essentially, Lucas got beat. He got beat on this play, and Antonio saved him. But I believe that Taylor did feel some pressure here, and that's kind of what led to this opportunity for the Raiders, in which they wasn't able to capitalize on. Again, pick six. Obviously, we know the rest of the story. One more run from Antonio Gibson sets him up. 6-yard run sets him up to go into field goal range. And Brian Johnson kicks the game winner. But I wanted to highlight that last drive because it shows you the good and the bad of Taylor Heinicke and what he has presented to this Washington football team throughout the course of the season. But that wraps it up about this Trap or Die film session, man. My opinion of Taylor Heinicke this week, essentially, is he had his lapses and his ability to manage the game against the Raiders. While he was under pressure for essentially the entire game, Heinicke's aggressive play style against Vegas essentially also cost him the game as well as a few overthrows that has shown its face throughout the course of the season. The game against Dallas will be a major challenge for Washington and Taylor Heinicke, as they are one of the most opportunistic defenses in the NFL. With 19 interceptions on the year, luck has been on their side, but also they've been able to make plays, and that's kind of the situation that Taylor is facing. Is he going to be able to manage the game and get back into game manager mode where he understands protecting the ball is essential? Who knows? Or is he going to go and have this win it mode for his team that ultimately may cost them a home game, a division game against the Dallas Cowboys? Let me know what you all think about Taylor. Let me know what you all think about the game, the offense in general, or my opinion on Taylor Heinicke as he played against the Las Vegas Raiders and moving forward in the comment section, man. We appreciate y'all for watching. And until next time, man, appreciate y'all. Y'all be safe. Enjoy the game.